Perfect. We get a free restart. Y'all didn't see the disaster that I caused. It's excellent. Let me start again. Greetings, all. One and all. It is I, Jordan, Mankey Games. And today we're going to be playing some Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. Siege of the Empire. It is episode 6, I believe, of Act 2. And I'm really excited to get back into it. For those of you watching live on Twitch, thank you for showing up. Appreciate it. And I will mention and apologize the fact that it's been like 3 weeks since we've been live, and that hurts me. Lightning struck my computer, and I had to deal with some serious tech issues, so hopefully we are all done with those, and we're back. Not a moment too soon. So, this week, unfortunately, we'll be missing a couple of players. Unfortunately, they have prior engagements that have come up, and I totally understand that. I get that. In RPGs, that is a thing that occurs somewhat commonly when you have a group of, especially when you have a group of 6 people. There's a lot of different lives that you have to kind of work around, but we adapt, and we get over it. So, let me check to see if all my players are here. Oh, it looks like everybody's here. That's amazing. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
It appears that all the players that are going to be here are here. Congratulations for being on time.
Yay.
I make it a point. And
Actually,
I don't
wait.
think we heard you, Megan. I think you might be muted.
Am I okay now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Yay.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be dying?
Wait, what? Say that again?
He said, how does it feel to be dying?
Pretty much how you would expect, I think.
Yep. Yeah, indeed. Especially something beyond her control. It makes it even better.
Leave for one session and get stabbed in an alley.
Yep.
That's why you're like me. You somehow manage to show up every session. Even if you miss only a half hour of it, or leave a half hour early, you always make sure you're there every session. That way Jordan can't fuck with you then.
I mean, that's not true at all. But anyway, so Brian, I see you are in Discord, but you are muted. Are you actually here? Or are you just
might be away.
the invisible man?
He was there when I got back from my busy day today at 3. So I don't know if he's actually there or not.
Well, tell us about it.
Hello?
My day?
Yes.
Jesus, where the fuck do I begin? I suppose I'll start with previous night before. During my Stars Without Numbers session, I got heavily drunk off of my good old Jack Daniels and Coke. Passed out, woke up at 2 in the morning, have been up since 2 in the morning, went to eat breakfast with my best friend, along with other good friends, and as we were doing that, as he is home, as a lot of them are home, for the wedding tomorrow that I'm going to be attending for my best friend. And we went and got suits, well, outfits for the wedding, as it's going to be slightly informal and things like that. So we ended up doing that for a couple hours. We then hung out at his house, went to the pool, swam a bit, hung out, and recently I only just got home about a half hour ago and got myself food. I now have a nice cold Heineken. That is my day so far, and yeah, I'm here.
Excellent. Sounds like a eventful week for you.
Yeah, I suppose.
Will, we need our weekly Fallout recap.
Well, the tea rations haven't lasted as long as I thought they would. But yeah,
I swear to
This is
God,
getting-
that's
I'm almost like waiting for the week where we don't ask.
It's fantastic.
I think it'll probably go till November, and then it'll be us.
So I saw,
That's
maybe
fine.
I'm just way behind on politics that don't involve the U.S. right now, because let's be honest, that's a shit show in itself. But
Yes,
was it this past week or the week before where I didn't say anything? You guys got a new prime minister, yeah?
Yes,
Like
we
the
did.
second woman ever in the history of the prime ministry to get it, right?
Yes, and she's turning out to be just as bad as the first one.
Ouch.
Let me clarify on that. It's not that women prime ministers are bad. It's
Sure.
that they were bad prime ministers, yet they were women.
Right. No, absolutely.
Sure,
I understand
yeah.
completely. You were.
Should really clarify that. Yeah,
Understood.
Margaret Thatcher ended up saying, "Hey, you know, you working class people that are keeping this entire country together, yeah, we're gonna screw you over." So
Alright. So,
my
it's,
new one's
it's,
going along those lines.
it's good to know that the United States will not be the only country entering a civil war soon.
Hmm.
That's good. That's good stuff.
Oddly comforting, sort of. I guess.
We can all burn together.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Fantastic.
There you
Well, that
I
sounds
mean,
great.
some men just want to see the world burn. So,
And women, apparently,
And
too.
women, right,
So
yeah.
that's fine, yeah.
Some people is how I
Some
think that term needs to be clarified from now on.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Other than that, how's the actual life going, Will?
Yeah, life's going okay. Just rolling along, working, earning some money, playing games.
Yeah. Good.
Good show.
It's fantastic. I think that's the first time you've ever said good show, so I think if you're playing the drinking game at home when people make remarks like our Canadian says A, or our Brit says something along the lines of good show, you should take a
Good
drink.
show,
now.
out, chat.
Right, yeah, exactly.
or us Americans when we say America or anything along the lines
Or
that stands for
actually
America.
anything at all.
Yeah.
Since I believe that Brian is not still not here. Megan,
Yep.
how have you been?
I've been fine. Not a whole lot going on, actually. I mean, I went to Philly, but you kind of
Right.
already heard about that.
Yes.
How was Philly?
It was awesome. Pretty cool city.
It
You know,
is.
Philly's only like a 2-hour drive from where I live.
Nice.
Coulda just
Then you
swung
should go
over.
there more often.
That's awkward.
'cause that's
Well,
an
I don't like
awesome
big
city.
cities. I don't like the people. So
It wasn't too bad as cities go. But anyway, yeah. What else have I been doing? My brother comes to visit tomorrow.
Oh, trust
so
me, I'm
that'll be
aware.
Fun. I know you're aware. That'll be interesting. And what have I been doing? Oh, I've been playing Overwatch because obviously.
I have no one to play Overwatch with. This makes me sad. You should really get on that train.
What
with-
what
It's
character
It's a
do you
good
play,
game,
Meg?
man. Could you guess?
I mean, I was gonna say Farah.
I play some Farah. I play mostly Trash Diva and
right,
a little bit of
okay.
Junkrat.
Trash
so,
Diva.
Yeah.
Got it. Trash Diva.
Yep.
I like that. It's good. Although
Yep,
I hear that since the patch Diva is like a god now, so
Yeah, she's totally She was actually trash before, but now she's great. So I guess people should stop
Right.
calling her that. But it's
I
kind of
heard-
stuck. So
right. I heard that Diva and McCree right now are the go-getters.
yeah, I'm just real bad at McCree, so I can't.
McCree's a
play
high
him,
skill character,
but-
I think. It's like I put McCree in the same class as Genji. There's like
Or like Widowmaker now too. Like I cannot. I just get rocked every time I
have
play
you
her.
have you
so.
played the new hero, Anna?
No, I haven't because I don't play ranked. So
Oh,
'cause I am not good enough to play ranked. So people would rage at me so hard, and I would just feel bad.
I get
But
it.
yeah.
Makes sense.
But yep. So not a whole lot
That's
going
good.
on.
That's awesome. Brian, last chance.
Brian's not here.
Okay.
So wait, is it just gonna be the three of us?
No, Brian should be here. I hope he's here because otherwise I might have to reconsider some things because it's a lot of people missing. But my week has been really good. Obviously, I got my new motherboard, or my refurbished motherboard. My RMA was
Hooray.
completed.
Yay.
Came in yesterday, so I put in my headphones and turned on Pandora and jammed out while I built a computer again.
Right.
That was good. Re-signed my lease at the apartment complex, and when you do that, they give you a free like carpet cleaning. Like the actual like professional company comes out and cleans your carpets for you for free, which is pretty cool. I think that's a pretty cool thing that happens when you do that. But I totally forgot they were showing up.
Not prepared.
This was today, right? Because I told them to do it on a Friday when I'm not busy. So I'm sitting in my underwear playing RimWorld, and
They show up.
yeah, I get a knock at the door, and you do that process of, first of all, no one's like, you go, who the hell is that?
So you answer the door
I'm
in
not
your underwear.
I'm not expecting anyone. Let me finish the fucking story, bro. Not expecting anyone. So I go for about 2 more seconds, and then I realize, oh shit, it's the carpet cleaning guys. And my first thought is not to run around and go answer the door and put clothes on. My first thought is, I haven't picked shit up off the floor. So I run, and I make it about halfway to the door, and I'm like, oh shit, I should probably put clothes on. So then I run back to my room, I put clothes on, knocks like again, and I'm like, I hate it when that happens. I hate it when somebody knocks once, and you can't quite make it to the door before they knock again. Because then you don't want to feel like you were just like ignoring them or like, you know, whatever. That it causes me stress. So I get to the door and I pull it open and I say, hey, listen, I haven't had a chance to pick up anything off the floor. Can you give me like 5 minutes? And the guy was real cool about it. So he sat outside. So I'm running around my house like throwing my dining room chairs in the bathrooms where there's no carpet and throwing a bunch of stuff on top of my bed because I don't want it on the floor because I want them to be able to clean the floors. And pretty much by the end of it, I got everything moved that I could get moved, and I open the door again, and he's like, okay, I got all my stuff set up, and he comes in, and turns out, guy's allergic to cats.
How are you a carpet cleaner and are allergic to cats?
So he comes in, and like he gets like halfway through my apartment, and he comes out, and he's like, do you have cats? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, well, I'm going to need to take a break because I'm starting to get, like, itchy and, like, stuffed up because I'm allergic. And I was like, okay. So I can't really go in my house because the carpets are all soaking wet with the stuff he sprayed down. So I'm stuck sitting outside for, like, an hour waiting for him to not die and go take his fucking whatever his allergy medicine, Benadryl or whatever the hell he was taking. And then he comes back in and he finishes up, and then I get to go play RimWorld some more. The other annoying thing that happened to me is yesterday I went to go test the stream settings because I installed my new motherboard. Mentioned that. Mm-hmm. And for some reason my internet was capped off at about 50% of what it should have been. So I called them, and they were like, oh, all the settings seem fine down here. And they're like, he did all the troubleshooting procedures, and he's like, we're going to have to send a technician. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is clearly not a tech problem. It is literally saying to me, I'm getting half of my internet speed that I should be
You are
getting.
throttling my internet. Fix that.
Right, exactly. Like, you are throttling my internet. This is not a tech issue. Eventually, I was just like, fine, whatever, send a tech, but he needs to be here tomorrow because I had the game today. And he goes, well, we don't have anything available. We can make it on Saturday. And I said, well, that's a little fucking unfortunate. So I hung up the phone all pissed off. And I get back on doing what I can on my internet because it was like really throttled. And about 10 minutes later, it magically starts to work again.
Interesting.
Yeah. Just magically, it just starts to work again. I didn't change any settings. I didn't do anything. I was just like, huh, that's interesting. I wonder what happened. That's pretty much been it for me.
Yep, my internet company does that to me all the time. And I know when they're doing it too. It's in the evenings, and all of a sudden, like, my computer just is a crawl. And I'm like, oh, interesting. They're throttling my internet again.
Mine does that too in the early mornings around 3 to 4:50
Listen,
a.m.
they can throttle it all they want when I'm asleep.
That's my feeling
Yeah,
too.
well, when I'm not asleep at 3:30 in the morning, and I'm playing or doing something, and it's like, oh hey, your internet that just went from completely good to complete shit, and now you're suffering because of it. You're gonna just have to deal with it for the next hour or so. I'm like, oh, that's great. This is exactly what I want to deal with. So,
Just need some, what's it called? Google Fiber. There we go.
I do hope that the next place I live has Google Fiber. That'd be incredible. Brian, welcome back.
Yeah, sorry, I was gone. I had some.
okay.
I got called out at like 2:30, and it took a little bit. So
It's fine. How has your week been?
very, very long. That one day I got called in. I worked every single day after that.
Nice.
It was fantastic. I loved it so much.
I mean,
I loved it. It was my favorite.
paycheck will be great next week.
That's so true, because the last one was terrible. So there's some good to it.
Yep.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
sorry I had to leave. I'm back. Hi,
Good.
guys.
Vi got stabbed, and you allowed it
Oh.
to happen.
Awesome. Very
Um,
happy with it.
Yeah, good time.
so you got Vi to deal with, which is going to be pleasant.
Right. So, quick recap of what happened last session is, so you guys completed without any ill effects your party, and then you decided to venture out of town to see what else you could get into. Vi and Chester mysteriously disappeared, and were lost to the streets for an entire day, essentially. Farron and Marilla had a date, which consisted of them essentially going around and looking at different things in the city and just generally exploring. And our resident ambassador, he went and set up a Arcadi. For some reason I was blanking on the name there. He went and set up what can only be described as a medieval book club meeting
This is genius.
for Morella to attend, and it's going to supposedly have all of the noble or highest noble ladies in participation. And Farron, you were hired to be their entertainment, whatever that may entail. Who knows? And speaking
Oh
of,
yeah, I forgot about that.
yeah, I didn't. And Hannibal has decided he's been working on some things, and we know there was some sketchy business. Farron and Arcadi kind of discovered there was some sketchy business there. Whatever, nothing has come of it yet, but you don't really know a whole lot about it. But most importantly, probably, in your search for Vi and Chester throughout the day, you'd come across one significant clue. And Farron had come across it and had been able to identify it. However, Morella had not, based on her lack of knowledge of the situation. But came across the fact that there was a homicide in the city, and there was a man's face removed from said homicide. So that definitely caused some concern for Farron, and you breached that concern with Arcadi in the fact that that this is probably not good and we should probably see what's going on, but as well, we can't really get, I think the conversation really entailed, we can't really get Morella involved because we don't want Morella to be associated with murderers. That's probably bad.
You are associated with murderers.
She doesn't know that. It's fine. So let's talk for a minute about what happened for Vi and Chester after the conclusion of the festival. So the two of you, or I should say Vi, you decided to see yourself out a fair bit earlier than the rest of the crew, and you ventured off into the city, and went to like a designated meeting point that you probably had set up with Chester ahead of time. And Chester, upon your departure from the party, you headed towards that designated meeting point as well, and when you arrived, you saw Vi, who was running through the streets holding her side as if she was running from something. And the man chasing her looked surprisingly familiar to you. And I think the most unique thing about it is the man chasing her looks like a man that you've killed before. And the two of you have some old enemies that are kind of vague and shadowy, and, you know, I know about them, but, you know, even you guys are a little bit in the dark about who they are or what they do. But it's not an unknown tactic to use individuals who look similar to other individuals to do their bidding, essentially. And this was a man that Vi maybe at one time trusted to some degree. And so it came as a surprise more than anything, Vi, when you were approached by this man, who then stabbed you with a dagger in the torso. And Chester, you were able to dispatch of the man handily. And the two of you, the last scene that we saw in last week's episode was Vi, you're kind of like leaning up against a wall at the end of an alley, like holding your side. Or healing it, right? Because you can heal yourself. It's not really a huge deal. And Chester kneeling down at the man he killed with his carving knife, flaying his face. So then fast forward to the end of that day where the two of you have been laying low. Kind of got a suspicion that either somebody has followed you or that maybe there's a hit, but it was clearly a targeted attack. It wasn't just some strange happenstance in an alley where a cut purse got a little too aggressive with you, Vi. This was very clearly a targeted attack on you when you were seemingly without your sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a city that neither of you have probably been in before, what steps would you take to lie low?
Well, besides the obvious, I would think of, making sure that we're concealed when we're traveling through the city, like not taking main roads and things like that. I think we would try to scope out, since we really only went from the docks to that one bar. Right.
Well, no, you guys traveled throughout the crafting district too. Remember, you guys, you did like a loop of the city to find contacts. You didn't go straight to the cup and sword.
Okay. I don't know why I don't remember that. That's fine. All right. Then I think.
But ostensibly, like, if you'd been spotted and recognized, it would have been at the cup and the sword.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that was probably when we were recognized.
Yeah,
when, I don't know,
for
we're making the biggest spectacle ever.
Right. Yeah. You guys were trying to be seen, but maybe did not consider the fact that not everybody that sees you may be benevolent.
And I think the two of us are arrogant enough to think we could have dealt with anything.
Sure.
Oh, way more than arrogant enough. I don't think that's an issue.
Sure. So lying low, besides the obvious again, find maybe a safe house. What kind of conversations would you guys have had throughout the day? Because traveling during the daytime probably isn't a great idea. Like, Vi, you could probably do it because you have the ability to disguise yourself in a manner of ways. But Chester's pretty recognizable with his hat and his crossbow, and, he's stealthy, but not unrecognizable.
I guess it's time for Chester to start making disguises.
Right. So Vi, your specialty is making disguises, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say we would probably just get a room, and I would probably just start making him a new outfit.
Right, yeah, you could totally, make him a new outfit, or you could, it would be even easier for you to disguise yourself, and then go just purchase, a local outfit, right? And then go back and just basically give it to Chester, instead of having to make your own outfit. It's more of, Chester, you could hide your crossbow under, maybe, a cape or something, so, something like that. The time of the year, though, it is midsummer, so it's hot. So wearing overclothes is going to be not necessarily suspicious, but anyone with, an above-average intelligence is going to be like, those guys are stupid. They're wearing cloaks and stuff. You're also in a much more humid and hot part of the world than most of the Empire, so it would be uncomfortably warm. But you could totally still do it, obviously.
I mean, sure, the cloak's recognizable and all, or the crossbow, not the cloak. But probably my appearance more so than my weapon at this point in time.
Sure.
So I probably just change clothes.
Sure. Yeah, so you can just spend 5 silver on a pair of clothes to change into and change your look a little bit more. At least be a little bit less recognizable.
Perfect.
Cool. So what kind of conversations would you guys have during this downtime period where you guys are trying to, what's the plan, right? So this is what you know that old enemies that you've dealt with before, who are a little bit, they're far more populous than the two of you, right? And you've encountered them before. You've never probably gotten a name from them. But you do know that a lot of times they're also masters of disguise, where they can kind of shroud themselves via multiple different ways to look like and blend into a crowd. They're definitely more in the assassin level thing, or assassin level tasks, than the typical thieves guild. So here's my next question, I guess, since I'm inserting this into your backstories. Would you have come up with your own name for them? This shady assassins guild that's clearly not the Grey Order, because the two of you know what the Grey Order is, and you know how they operate, and you probably know a fair amount of agents from the Grey Order. But you don't work for them, right? You're not a part of them. They probably tried to recruit you at one point, and you probably said no, because you're a bit more neutral than, you're a bit more not evil, but you fall to the more chaotic neutral than the lawful neutral that the Grey Order is.
Chester would probably just call them assholes.
I was literally just gonna say that.
Sure. So the Guild of Assholes, not assassins, the Guild of Assholes.
Yes.
Basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Guild of Assholes.
Yes.
Okay. So what's let's describe when was and I'm pulling on you guys to, come up with a story. When is the first time you guys encountered this group of assholes?
Oh, I'm so glad you have to say that every time now. That's fine. Let's see. Probably they were hired to make the same hit that the two of us were.
Sure.
And they beat us to it. And so ever since then, we just had it out for a man.
They've been the assholes that have been plaguing our whole lives.
Sure, yeah. So they're essentially the competition, right? In the hits or things that you do. Now, Chester, you take a lot of hits as contracts. But I think that you, from at least what I've encountered, and correct me if I'm wrong, your moral compass does point at least a little more good than it does evil. You don't necessarily go out and just kill anyone that you're told to. And you would definitely know that these guys are, like, they'll just, if somebody's got a contract on them, they get killed. It could be anyone. And I think that a distinguishing feature of all the agents of this, the Guild of Assholes that you've ever encountered, there's probably like a defining feature. They all seem to have that like very lack of emotion, glazed over kind of look. Whenever
Cylons.
Yeah, right. Essentially, they're Cylons, or in a lot of fantasy worlds, eunuchs act like that. If you've ever played Dragon Age, the Tranquil are a good like example maybe of how they like their demeanor. And so in situations where you meet someone like that, like you're probably automatically suspicious because that's kind of the interaction you've had with this Guild of Assholes.
All right.
Lovely.
So, what kind of conversation would we have about this vibe? I don't know how to start this one.
First of all, I think that we would have thought that we probably would have been safe from them here, or now we're under the realization that holy crap, they're everywhere and not just in Altdorf. And no matter where we go, we're going to run into them. So, fuck, right? Like,
right, exactly.
Basically that, right?
Yeah, you guys are probably like less on your guard for the assholes because you're like, we're out of Altdorf, right? Like,
right. We probably assumed they were just a local group, but apparently,
so
they are not. That's so great, perfect.
That's the revelation, right? Is that clearly they're not, or they followed you, right? Like, one of those two things is true.
They're much worse than we thought they were because they now follow us as well.
And at this point, they actually have some sort of contract or something out on us, which is a problem.
Yeah, because I feel like in the past, we were just, like was said, rivalry, just trying to get the same job, but now it's personal.
Sure, and it's also...
they're coming after us in particular.
And, like, anyone involved with the shadier side of this world would know that that's kind of in bad form.
Yeah, exactly. That goes against the code, man.
There is like a code, like there's just like with thieves guilds, there's a code with assassins that, you don't take out hits on each other, you compete, but, they're more taking it like a mob gangster relationship as opposed to the code that you guys ostensibly follow, right? Like self-defense is one thing, but like actually putting out a hit on another, like a rival group, is something completely different.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that means it's open season.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Open season on the Guild of Assholes. So, where we left off kind of with everyone else is Arkady and Farron and Morella were sitting in the galleon in the Knoll. Morella had just departed to go try on her dress for the book club meeting, and I mentioned to Meg earlier, this would be a good time. It's dark out and you guys can navigate the city well enough that you could insert yourselves in here if you wanted to just like walk into the bar and have Arkady and Farron be the people sitting in the bar waiting for you.
Yes, because I think that they definitely need a heads up in case somehow these assholes are going to come after them too. Maybe they've made the connection somehow.
Okay, so you guys enter. Maybe you come from down the stairs, right? Because you entered through some back door or through a window at some point. So Farron, you're sitting there talking with Arkady, and I think a conversation you were having was about Chester and Vi, right? And then they just walk down the stairs into the.
But we don't look quite like Chester and Vi, right?
Yeah.
You have to do one of those double take situations. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They come in disguise, but you've been with them long enough, you can tell most of their disguises.
What the fuck have you two got us involved in?
Would you keep your voice down? And then I like come over and have a seat next to them. Well, you see, we have a bit of a problem.
Yeah, there's some assholes trying to chase us at this point. Just a heads up, guys.
What do you mean? What do you mean chase you?
Well, I
Chester
think
is
you got
trying
this
to
one
say,
by.
I think that our enemies have followed us. They've either followed us or, unfortunately, they are in the city as well. We have yet to determine that. Either way, it's not good. It's not good for us. It's not good for you. And it's certainly not good for our lovely lady.
Yeah, I might have been stabbed a little bit.
I mean, I thought we said we weren't going to tell him that.
Nah,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
funnier.
Well, we kind of understood something was going on when we saw all of your handiwork all over the town.
Yes, perhaps you stop cutting faces off, because he's kind of calling card.
The assholes already know we're here. It was one of them.
That's also like telling a bird not to fly. Let's be honest.
Yes, but even bird get broken wings and still survive somehow, yes?
Regardless, that has happened. So we need to move forward at this point.
Fuck a dog.
Yeah.
Well,
Basically.
yeah.
We are on our end trying to figure out what we can, but I don't know that it's going to be much. We don't have many connections in this city. At least we don't.
Right, so... yeah, go ahead, Farron.
Oh, I see. So now that you've got a problem, you come to me.
Listen, this has become all of our problem.
Only because of you two. We were all fine. Me and Rayla were just going to a tea party.
Vi just stares at you blankly. No reaction.
Right, yeah, and I think that Arkady like puts a hand on Farron's shoulder and is probably like, "It's okay, my friend. If they have problem, we should probably help solve. I think that the dear lady would probably suspect more if they just vanished than if not. So, unfortunately, it seems like we must deal with it. But," and he turns to you, Vi, and he goes, "You do realize that this will solidify your position in this group. There will be no backtracking anymore. You won't have an easy out if we go," and he, in air quotes, he goes, "to bat for you."
Understood.
So he goes, "Okay, so how do we tell Morella a gang of assassins trying to kill you, and for what reason?"
I don't know that we need to use those words exactly.
Well, it needs to be explained, because Morella is nosy. She will eventually find out that we are attempting to quell the populace of this gang of individuals.
I mean, there's no real reason to keep it from her, I guess. We have enemies, they found us, it's now a problem. It needs to be dealt with. I think she'd understand that.
Straightforward is good, yes. And
She seems to be that way.
okay. So I think that's probably a good point for Morella to come down, like, maybe in the dress to show it off, right?
Yeah,
To be
and
like,
as she
Right.
comes down, she probably hears we should probably be straightforward with her.
Sure.
And she's like, straightforward with what?
right, so everybody turns, and Morella's in her evening gown, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
it's...
my divine goddess.
Oh, God.
You look ravishing.
Vi throws up in her mouth a little bit.
Right.
And anyway, I think Vi would step and say, yes, why don't you come sit, my lady? We have something to talk to you about.
At first, when like she has like a very like calm and serious expression on her face, but she turns her face like towards both you and Chester, and there's a big beaming smile that comes from her face, and like she has to like lift up the dress a little bit, and she starts like almost essentially running down the stairs, and she hugs both of you in like a very warming embrace. She's like, "Oh, good, you're back. I'm so glad."
I don't think Vi knows how to react to that. So I think that it's one of those awkward moments where she doesn't hug you right away and then like goes to hug you and like gives you a pat on the back.
I imagine Vi and Chester look at each other like over Morella's head that is like embracing the both of you, and you're like,
Yeah, it's definitely one of those situations.
Sure. Sure.
So, what? And she kind of like fixes herself a bit, and she like gets all like probably takes a step back. She's like, "So, what are you all talking about?"
I think if I would say, are you feeling okay, my lady? Is everything all right? I don't know what these two, have done to you. I haven't been around, but are you okay?
I think Arkady probably is like sitting like cross-armed, like leaning back in his chair, smiling and like nodding in approval.
She smiles when you ask it, and she's like, "I am fine. I am just glad to see two of my friends okay. That they've made it back to me."
Well, unfortunately, we've come back with some troubling news. It's not exactly the happiest of reunions.
The smile like immediately vanishes when you say trouble, and she's like, "What kind of trouble?"
Well, and she like lets out a long sigh. She says, "It seems like Chester and I's enemies have found us here. That's where we were all night."
She lets like probably a small silence like kind of like linger in the air before she probably like turns to you, Vi, and she says, "Did they hurt you?"
Just a scratch.
And she goes to you and she's like, "Where?"
I think Vi would take a step back and she says, "Don't worry, it's been handled. That's not what we need to focus on. What we need to focus on right now is keeping all of us safe."
She nods and she probably like takes another step back, and she's like, "So, we have intruders towards us, yes?"
Assassins, I think, is the term that I would use.
Obstacles, yes?
Arkady just he pinches the bridge of his nose and just shakes his head slowly.
Yes, if obstacles, yes. Maybe one, maybe many. We're still in the early phases here.
Okay. I'm assuming we are going to deal with them, yes?
Well,
if they are your problem, they are my problem.
I think Vi laughs a little bit at that. And she goes, "Well, I would hate for my problems to affect you, but unfortunately they are. The immediate threat has been dealt with, but we don't know how many are here, so I think that we need to figure out how many, and then, as you said, deal with these obstacles."
You see, like, her fists, her left hand, like, clutched tightly. She's like, "They've hurt one of my friends."
Oh, believe me, these men have no honor.
I agree. Well, it is getting late. Perhaps we should rest and come up with a plan tomorrow.
That seems sensible. But what is this I hear about some sort of tea party?
She, like, immediately, like, almost stiffens up when the words tea party is mentioned, and she's like, "Yes, Vi, I need to ask you a favor."
I think that Vi would look at you and say, what could I be of assistance with?
I need you to go with me to this party.
In what capacity, my lady?
To the extent of... And she kind of maybe even starts fumbling her words, like she can't get it out right. And she's like, I just need you there. I can't deal with it.
It was my understanding that Farron was going. Is he not enough?
No.
I think Vi would turn to Farron and just kind of smile really brightly, and
Farron
then
collapses on the ground at this point.
Arcadi's just patting him on the back as his head is just banging into the table. Just.
I think Vi would turn back and say, "Well, we are in a bit of a crisis at the moment, but I guess if I can come and make sure you are safe, I guess that's a good option for now."
Yes. Safe. That's what I need.
And I think Arcadi looks and he says, I think what the lady is trying to say is perhaps she will need assistance not strangling women at tea party. You perhaps will be calming presence.
She blushes when you say calming presence, and she says, yes, I'm not good with other women.
Vi says, "Oh, come now. It's no problem. I've pretended to be a lady in these places all the time. It's no big deal. I'll help you out."
She smiles with a big grin on her face, and she nods, and she's like, thank you. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, it's nothing. Now, about the assassins. I think I turn to Petrov and see if we can come up with a plan before we all retire.
Yeah, Petrov, if we could easily montage it where it's
that's what I was gonna say. We don't need to argue the whole thing.
Where it's you guys are talking and Farron, after you get over, dying, you
I'm better than you.
Farron, you have some unofficial contacts that perhaps could help, right, in the situation. Yeah. But Petrov also mentions no one should ever be alone as well. Like Farron, maybe if you suggest
Buddy
to
system.
go out tonight, he just shakes his head and he's like, no, maybe you should take Chester with you if you go tonight, but if you go tomorrow, make sure you have somebody with you. Nobody should be alone
Sure.
at this point. So just because it's safer that way. And I think that Arcadi probably also suggests a check-in system where if you guys go out, assassins work in the dark corners, right? And their work is generally unheard of. So if somebody were to be in duress and not able to report back to somebody else, in fact, Arcadi probably says maybe I'll just set up here. Hannibal seems to not be wanting to leave his room anyway recently. So maybe Petrov says, he's just going to set up here in the inn and, make sure you guys check in every so often so that he can, keep tabs on what's going on. And
I think we should probably also set up a few places at throughout the rest of the city, depending on if we can't canvas the entire city back to this one location. We have other meeting parts or meeting points.
Yeah, absolutely. So whatever safe house you guys used before, that's an option. Maybe a couple other inns and taverns spread throughout the city. Yeah, absolutely. You guys can bounce around and meet up or whatever. And I think for Vi and Chester, you've maybe not seen Petrov work before, besides being a diplomat. It's very clear to you that I think that Petrov has an extremely good grasp on tactical situations and how to coordinate plans, and everything he says, even though you want to disagree with it, makes sense. In the grand scheme of things, it's clear that he was kind of born for this job. Kind of not the battlefield tactics that Morello would be really good at, but the navigating different scenarios like this are something that he's really good at. So you definitely, I think, realize that. But yeah, you guys, go through the whole plan to make yourself safer as you travel kind of throughout the city, and you end up turning in for the night. And morning comes, and you guys wake up, and you stretch, and it's a beautiful morning, and I think that probably Arkady has acquired a dress, for you, Vi, so that you can attend the tea party.
Sure, which I alter quickly before I actually go.
Sure.
To my taste and my liking.
Sure. Do you make it cut lower, or what alterations would you make to like a generally like semi-formal dress?
I would take out some of the crinoline underneath so that I can move more easily and not be all restricted. And I would totally loosen the corset because Vi hates those things.
Sure. Right. Yeah. Like all good women. Yeah. Sure. Absolutely. Cool.
Also, I'd probably change my hair color and eye color because she's paranoid at this point.
Sure, yeah. So we get a shot of you like in the wash basin or whatever, like changing your hair color and that kind of stuff.
Now I have brown hair and green eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. So you go downstairs, and again, Vi is barely recognizable. And everybody meets for breakfast, and Petrov has like a bunch of like missives on the table in front of him. And he's like reading over some, and like he's scratching with like a quill and ink on some, and he looks like a fine diplomat sitting at a table right now. And I think Hannibal has come down and gotten breakfast, and he's eating it kind of silently to himself in the corner. But the rest of you, for your morning, what do you have planned? The tea party is in the early evening, so you have kind of a bit of time throughout the beginning of the day to take care of whatever you guys want to take care of. If you want to pursue this line of quest, then you can totally do that. But otherwise, it's kind of up to you guys, and unless you want to just fast forward to the tea party. That's the next major event that we have.
Yeah. I think before that, Morella will go to Vi. And like it will probably like come up during like breakfast or whatnot. And Morella looks over to her and says, Vi, do you perhaps want to go to the bathhouse with me? I feel like we can use a good steam before this. I'm a bit tense.
If that's what your lady requires, then absolutely we shall go.
She smiles, and she kind of like looks at like Petrov, and just pretty much tells him that like, hey, we're gonna be going here, so keeping tabs.
Right? Yeah.
Type of deal.
Remember to stay together.
Buddy system. Got it.
Yeah.
I think I would link my arm around Morello's and say, yes, let's
Sure.
get away from these nasty boys.
Right.
She chuckles a little bit, and she's like, yes, they do need a bath as well, though they can do so on their own time.
Farron does the typical sniffs under the armpit.
Right. Yeah. Do you do it like try to be like yawn and raise your arm and then like, do I stink? I don't know.
Or they'll like breathe into your hand and try to see if your breath smells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hannibal, I think, just kind of like waves his hand and continues eating.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So you guys are going to do that. Chester and Farron, do you guys have any plans? I mean, you guys could totally go to Farron's contacts, right? If
Yes.
that's something you wanted to pursue. But again, buddy system. Arkady's like, don't leave without Chester.
Oh, do I have to?
Oh, come on. You'll love it.
Best duo ever.
Yeah, I think Arkady like looks up from his paper and looks at Chester and goes, no cutting of faces, okay?
No cutting of faces. I got it. It's not a
Or
problem.
shooting with crossbow unless attacked.
Okay.
Or stealing
Sure.
from people.
Now that one's going too far.
Aye, come on, Pitch Love. You know what we're like.
He goes, yes. Steal from people on own time. This is business.
A little bit of stealing.
No
Little.
stealing.
Aye, Pitch
Oh,
Love knows this.
You can only steal from people you kill, and you can only kill people that try to kill you. That is rules.
But when you kill them, it's not stealing anymore. Where's the fun in that?
Technically, someone else entitled to that money per the decrees put out by the Emperor. Technically, family entitled to money.
Yeah. Fine.
Technically, is still theft. Right.
I'm
So you
not
guys
happy about that.
trudge
A long
out.
pause.
Right. You guys trudge out with your heads hanging dejectedly. Yeah. So you guys go to Farron's contacts. Are you gonna go to the same place that you went to the previous day, Farron? With the snake face man.
Yeah.
Sure.
Assume.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. So jump back to the bathhouse scene, I guess. Yeah, right. So Morella and Vi, you guys arrive at the bathhouses, which totally exist. They're a thing. And you guys begin to. Is there anything important that goes on here, or are you guys simply just making yourselves look pretty for your upcoming event?
I don't know. I mean,
Well-
Morella's the one who brought me here, so Vi's just doing what she's told.
Yeah. When both of us, eventually, strip down over clothes and things like that and start heading towards the bathhouse, Morella is, walking in front of you, and you notice that on her shoulders there are scar marks. And not just normal, maybe a birthmark or things like that. There's an obvious large burn mark on the center of her back, but on her shoulder blades are the possibly more interesting ones, as they're almost small scars made into tally marks. There's 11 on her left and 12 on her right. They're small, and it almost seems like they were self-inflicted.
Well, I think Vi would point that out. She'd say, "So, it seems you have some battle scars, my lady?"
As an afterthought.
She looks and she's like, "Which ones are you referring to?"
Unfortunately, it seems like I have many to choose from. How about the ones on your shoulders? Where do those come from?
She lets a silence ring out in the air as we both start sit down for a moment. She takes a deep sigh and she starts muttering to herself, and at first you can't make out the words that she mutters, but then she starts speaking louder, and it sounds like she's saying names to herself.
I think Vi would recognize this as kind of a practice of
Sure.
people.
It's not
that
uncommon.
and she would say, "It's your list, is it? How many names?"
23.
I think Vi kind of looks at her slightly impressed and says, "So it seems we are all not quite as squeaky clean as you would think."
She looks at you and there's almost water in her eyes, and she's like, "These are the ones I couldn't save."
Tell me the story.
Where do I begin? Each one of these has their own story. You can see that it starts to get harder for her to continue talking normally. Her voice starts to crack a little bit more.
I think that once you reached a point where clearly it's gotten too much, I think Vi would step in and say, well, I don't mean to upset you, my lady, especially with where we have to go. So why don't we save the rest of them for another time, shall we?
She nods, and she kind of like just sits there silently and doesn't like wash herself at all. Like she just kind of sits there like in silence. And this might be like an odd scene for her, like for Vi, because she's always seen Morella as, you know, the stoic, like nothing phases her at all type of thing, and here she is, just silent, almost like not even a person, almost just kind of a shell of a person.
Well, I think since Vi's gotten back, you know, Morella's not been acting the Morella that jumps on the back of some beast and slays it. So I think that Vi's kind of not sure how to react. I think she kind of lets you sit with it for a little while, and then after a while says, well, you know, I have this kind of interesting, and she's like trying to just change the subject to something else to try to cheer you up before we depart.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that probably, I mean, I don't know how fast Morella snaps out of that, but yeah, no, I think that, you know, Vi, you're good at
I was going to say, that's kind of what she does.
You're good at distraction,
she has
right?
good stories, right?
So you just, you know, do the majority of the talking probably for the rest of the time that you guys exist in the bathhouse.
She's okay with Vi. She's used to talking to herself.
Sure, absolutely. So jump over to Farron and Chester. As you guys are traveling along the bridge, along the big large bridge, which I should come up with a name for it. I don't think it actually has a name. I'll do that at some other point. But you're traveling across the bridge, and traffic is fairly heavy. There's lots of wagons and carts and people moving back and forth. Is there any conversation between the two of you on your way to Farron's contact?
I think I'd make a comment of, I had much better company yesterday.
Now that's mean. Why am I such bad company? Huh?
Because the company I was with was the love of my life, the jewel of my eye, the one that gives me meaning to my life.
Oh. I don't know what to say about that.
Right, so there's that awkward scene of like Chester, hands in pockets, like looking away from Farron, like as they walk, and Farron is just like reminiscing about his date. Yeah, it's good stuff. So you get to the house, and you realize that it's been moved, because I did mention these guys move most every day. And so you find the clues in Thieves' Cant, this particular dialect of Thieves' Cant, written like on a piece of paper, like a note like tossed on the ground. And so you head over to the new location. You get there, and you enter, and the snake-faced man is there, and he says, "Ah, yes, my friends. Well, I don't know you. How may I address you?"
Good day. Yes, don't mind him. He's just a friend, you'd say, of mine.
Yes. Well, any friend of yours is a friend of ours.
Well, I'm here to do a bit of business with you. You know, information broker like yourself, and I need information.
Ah, yes, information is mostly what we deal with. What are you looking for?
There's a group of so-called assassins that seem to be around these parts, and it seems that they have an eye for some members of our group. I was wondering if you could give me anything on them.
That is vague. I will need more information. There are many entities that operate within the city.
Aye, well, they're usually a group that runs out in Altdorf. I don't know quite whether the group is large enough to also be over here, or whether they've just followed us, but they're certainly known for their non-choosing of whether or not to take a contract or not.
They have no code. Yes, I know the type. And
Fucking assholes.
right, yeah. And so yeah, he kind of like looks at you and he says, at Chester, and he says, "And you are the client?"
Yeah, I'm the client this time.
He nods like up and down, and he kind of like licks his lips. He's like, "Yes, still not a lot of information. What's perhaps have you done to anger these individuals, or any individual, why they would hire assassins?"
Everything. Yeah, everything. I've messed with them a couple of times on their jobs. Probably one too many.
So perhaps not a paid for operation. It's personal.
Yeah, it is. Very.
It's dangerous work for the men. I think that's due to your generosity, and he looks towards Farron when he says that. He says, "We could perhaps take this contract, but it would settle things with us."
Aye, well, first we're just trying to assess if they're a huge threat to us or not, or whether they're just poking holes.
We will find what information we can. Is there anything else we should know about the way they operate?
They
Thanks.
just like to hide among the people, among everyone.
He nods and he says, "Ah, yes, in plain sight. We have some specialists. I will see what we can do. If that is all."
Aye, thank you again. You're always such a great help.
He nods and the group of you depart.